It is about the law and people. That is not illegal, but that's, let me tell you, and how people can resolve and better themselves.
Justice with passion.
I knew I was going to go into law because I always defended everybody. I was always the one who found a solution and tried to resolve the problem by having people talk to each other.
Justice with truth.
So I'm giving you one more chance to tell me the truth.
This is Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Corey Sims is suing Taylor Armstrong in the amount of $700 for fraud and breach of contract. The plaintiff claims the defendant overcharged him for his studio time and audio mix session. Ms. Armstrong says she discounted her services and the plaintiff should be happy.
All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Cristina Perez presiding. Please be seated. All parties have been sworn in, Your Honor.
Thank you, Renard. Mr. Sims, you are a singer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is this something you want to aspire to be as a profession?
Yes, I'm doing it as we speak.
Okay, and Miss Armstrong, I understand you have a recording studio.
Yes, ma'am, for 10 years. Very
For 10
successful.
years. And what kind of music do you help record? Do you do bands or individual
We do
artists?
all genres.
Okay, how did you hear of Miss Armstrong, Mr. Sims?
Well, I met her about a year ago in Hollywood at a Hollywood party. I introduced myself. I told her that I was an entertainer and a singer, and immediately she told me she had a recording studio called Faithful Sounds. So I said, cool. As we got to know each other and we vibed, I immediately told her, you know what? I want to check your studio out. I want to hire you. I want to hire you for 2 songs and see how it goes.
Okay, and what would her services comprise of? What would she do for you?
Her services consist of mixing the song, mastering the song, and providing the beat. And the contract said that I would write the song.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tell me how your experience was with her.
The experience was excellent. The 2 songs I recorded came out really good. I have no complaints on that.
Okay, all right. And Miss Armstrong, is that true?
Yes, I would agree. Yes, 100%.
Is he a good singer?
Yes, he's a very good singer.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what was about his tone, or what was it about it that you
He has
that you
a
liked?
finesse when he sings that's really, it's very, very raw. It's really good, and it could fit into a lot of different areas. Anything. He could do something from commercials to, music for movies. There's really,
A wide range.
yes. And that's why I was so excited
Okay.
to get to work.
And what's your favorite genre of music?
I do it all. Pop and R&B together is the thing that I focus most
You
on.
want to give me a sample?
It's something about the things that you do. It's making me wanna sing to you, and I can't believe what I'm
Beautiful.
seeing through my eyes.
Beautiful, beautiful, Mr. Sims. Okay, so he does have an incredible voice. So then what happened, Mr. Sims? You liked her, you checked her studio out, you checked out her reputation, you decided to hire her, to enlist her services for 2 songs. How much did you promise to pay her for her services?
Well, it was nothing that I promised to pay her. In the contract, it said that I was going to be recording for $70 an hour. But she basically cut me out of $2,000, which helped me out because I usually pay probably $1,000 for each beat. So she said, you don't have to pay for that. You just pay $70 an hour. So I'm like, cool, excellent.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't realize what she was really doing.
What was she really doing?
When you're paying the bill, you don't get to see the invoice until after you pay it. So it automatically comes off my credit card. So I paid for it first.
Is that an option that you decided to do just to give her the credit card so she could
No,
bill?
that's the option. That was the only option that was given. She said that all her clients do that.
So that's how you took payment plan? Is that the only way you take payments?
That's not true. That's not true. I mean, I would accept cash. Generally, I can invoice and they can pay.
Girl, you know you're lying.
Okay, Mr. Sims.
They-
Okay, I got it.
I will bill them with an invoice. They'll look at the invoice and then they'll pay however they see fit.
Okay. All right. So then you charged them $700 for the services, and
I
you
just
charged
wouldn't
it-
take a check. He asked me if he could write me a check. I wouldn't
Okay,
take
and
a
you
check.
said no. So she charged you $700
Yes, ma'am.
for the bill for the 2 songs. And what was wrong with the $700?
Everything about it.
Okay,
I was
why?
only supposed to be getting charged $70 an hour, and she added on additional 10 hours for the 2 times I recorded, which was $5 for each song, and that wasn't what it was supposed to be. And I
Okay.
didn't know that until I got the bill, so that's why we're here now. And I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for Paris.
Okay.
Paris, who's a really, really good friend of mine, who was actually doing the mixing while I was recording.
Okay.
She called
Do you
me.
have any evidence of the bill that Miss Armstrong gave you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Why don't you give all your evidence to Renard? And Miss Miller, you can go ahead and stand next to Mr. Sims. So let me just check this bill out. So it was total was $2,100.
Yes, ma'am.
And what you are saying is that she overcharged you $700. That you
Yes,
believe
ma'am.
she overcharged you. Did you ever request Miss Armstrong for a detailed invoice of all the time spent on these songs?
Yes, after I got the bill, I did immediately because I knew it didn't add
Did
up.
she give it to you?
No.
I have a detailed invoice here, though.
Okay, why don't you
You
explain
didn't
to
give
me
it to
the
me,
process?
though.
Why don't you explain the process of what happens?
So there were several. First of all, I'm shocked to be here today
Okay.
because I did save him $2,000 by providing the instrumental tracks free of charge and the beats free of charge, which is generally unheard of. But he was a newer artist, had just moved into this city, and
Well,
I
you
wanted to help
acknowledge
him out.
that you saved about $2,000?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Coming up on Justice for All.
So then somebody actually came in and did the mastering. Am I not following this correctly?
And later,
What could your mother have done with $5,300? Maybe she could have saved it as a down payment for a
Some for
car
herself,
for you,
too.
or for herself. That's a novel idea.
you're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. We're back with the case of Corey Sims, who is suing Taylor Armstrong for fraud and breach of contract.
He claims that he was overbilled for a total of 10 hours, 5 hours on each of the tracks. There was a total of 2 tracks that were recorded. The 5 hours was actually for the mastering of the tracks.
It doesn't
there's
take 5
several-
hours to master a track.
Okay.
So when you record a song, you're not done when you stop singing. To actually professionally produce a song, there is mixing, there is recording, there are background vocals, which I helped him out and I added my own background vocals to the song.
I didn't
You're
actually
also a
do.
singer.
I am also a singer, yes.
Okay.
I added my own background vocals to the song free of charge, which would generally be about $500 per song there as well. And all of my engineers, I employ engineers, writers, producers. I have a lot of people. I have about a 15-person staff. They all sign off on all of the hours that they...
So you have, I think sometimes you guys do timestamps of every time somebody basically works on a project, so you know how much
Correct.
hours.
This isn't an actual physical stamp, but they do sign off on it. I spent 10 hours on the Corey,
For different people. Okay.
Correct.
Did you
And-
explain that to Mr. Sims?
No. And I don't know how you spend 10 hours on
Did you,
mastering when it...
Mr. Sims, did you explain that to Mr. Sims?
I didn't explain that specifically to Mr. Sims. I did show him a copy of the invoice, and I thought since he had been, it's standard practice when you are in the recording studio. So since he told me that he has recorded before and he was a successful singer in Atlanta, I didn't think that I would have to break down the basics for him. I thought that he already knew, and maybe that was my mistake.
Okay. And has he ever seen a copy of that invoice?
I mailed one out to the address that he gave me, the
Let
one
me see it
in
and give
Calabasas,
it,
and
Renard,
so
all of-
there you are.
Okay. And then Paris, Miss Miller, explain to me why you are here today.
Well, I've known Miss Armstrong for a good part of my life. She's friends with my parents, and she offered me a job at her studio, and I took it. The first couple of years has been very interesting. After maybe a month or so, she elaborated on the fact that she added an extra 5 hours to our timestamps in hopes that, I would make a little extra money, and also for mastering. But I don't master, I'm just a mixer. I am an engineer, I record. So I thought it was a little odd, but because she's the boss, I was like, okay, I'll sign off on it. But later in the discrepancy, when I figured out what was going on with Corey's specific project, I let him know that he was being billed extra.
Why did you let Corey know specifically?
We had started dating.
Why breach your confidence with your employer?
Well, he and I started dating at the time. We were just...
Oh, was that allowed for...
Well, let me correct that.
Generally,
Go ahead. I'm listening.
sorry, it generally is not allowed. Paris is a daughter of a very, very dear friend of mine, and I was teaching her how to be an engineer, and, we had developed a close relationship. She was known for, being friendly.
So then, Miss Miller, you claimed that you only worked a few hours on his project.
5 each project.
Okay. And do you know who else worked on this project?
I imagine that she hired somebody to master when I was done mixing.
Okay, so do you know, then that means somebody else worked on it besides you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that answers that question, right?
Yes.
So then it's reasonable to conclude that those 10 hours were filled by somebody else.
Yes, but
Out of
she
those
had
10
me
hours-
sign off
out
on
of,
them.
out of those 10 hours that you billed, Out of those 10 hours that you're arguing that he got overcharged, how many hours did you work out of those 10 hours?
On each project, 5.
So the other hours, you don't know who else came in and did the work after you?
I do not.
So was the final product finished? So somebody came in and did the mastering?
Obviously, since they got...
So then who did the
The
mastering?
product was finished. She
So
can't
then
tell me
somebody
who did the
actually came in and
mastering.
did the mastering. Am I not following this
Yes.
correctly?
No,
So
you
somebody
are.
did the mastering.
Yes, I did some of the mastering.
So
and
then
did the
actually
second
somebody
check.
worked for those extra hours that you're saying you got overcharged.
And what I was saying to Miss Perez when we did have dinner and drinks that one night was that it was 5 hours that she worked, but she signed off on 10 hours. And I told her I added another 5 hours because of the mastering.
All right. Anything else?
Well, honestly, I just want to know when it takes 5 hours to master a song when it takes no more than an hour to
Corey,
do
it's
it.
an industry
And then,
standard.
no, it's not
Industry standard is when you give a base rate for mastering. You don't just sit there and
How
say,
long have
here's
you
an
been
extra
doing this,
5.
Miss Miller?
Since I was 16.
Okay. Are you professionally certified in doing this? Do you
No,
run your
I
own
have
business
informal
on it?
training.
Okay, so it's just merely your personal, not very professional opinion, right? You, Miss Miller, have not proven to me that somebody else did not work on it. Miss Armstrong has submitted that evidence, and you know, Mr. Sims, you had the option to say, I don't want to go with you because you're too expensive. And didn't I also understand that you actually saved over $2,000
but
and everything
that
else?
really didn't
so
matter
what are we complaining about?
I'm
What are you
complaining about
complaining
the
about?
extra 10
You
hours
entered into
added.
the contract. You entered into the contract. You know the business. This is what you do. You say this is what you do.
Well,
so for you not to know is a little convenient for us to say that today. So based on the evidence, I don't have any evidence that she actually committed fraud. On the contrary, I don't. So based on the evidence, I will deny your claim for $700.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
Me and you both know you should change the name of your company from Faithful Sounds to Sinful Sounds because it's full of lies.
You are in for a rude awakening. I gave you a deal.
And later,
What could your mother have done with $5,300? Maybe she could have saved it as a down payment for a
Some for
car
herself,
for you,
too.
or for herself. That's a novel idea.
you're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Mary Baxter is suing her daughter Kimberly Baxter in the amount of $5,300 for the cost of beauty school.
Miss Baxter, Miss Baxter, why is your mother suing you for $5,300?
Because I dropped out of cosmetology school.
Well, I understand that you are a single mother. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that you have 2 jobs. To be able to support.
Exactly.
So, Mrs. Baxter, let's talk about the $5,300 and cosmetology school. What happened?
Actually, I thought it was a good thing for her to go to cosmetology school since she was doing such a fabulous job with
Did
her
she want to go to
friends.
cosmetology?
Not actually, Your Honor, but I thought it was a good thing for her. This is a plan that I thought we could go on, and because she was doing nothing.
But
well, I
It
shouldn't
was
say
your
nothing.
plan,
She
not
was,
my plan.
But she was.
but it was a plan.
But so you didn't want to go to cosmetology school?
No, I
Did
did
you
not.
tell your mother that?
I did, and she doesn't hear me out.
Okay, but you agreed to go, didn't you?
No,
And
I
you
just
went.
did it to make her happy.
Oh,
and I
but
found
you
out that I
still
wasn't
went to
happy.
school, and you went for how many months did you go? The first year?
The first 6 months.
So she goes to cosmetology school. You pay for the first 6 months of $5,300.
Well, because I had faith that she would accomplish it since she was so good at what she did.
So did you and Kimberly sit down and say, I'm paying for the first semester cosmetology school. You need to pay me back? Did you guys have a
there
contract?
was an understanding that she needed to pay me back.
Okay,
No,
tell me
I'm
about
not
that
aware of that.
agreement. What happened? Because I understand there's nothing in writing.
Coming up,
Maybe she could have saved it as a down payment for
Some
a
for
car
herself,
you,
too.
or for herself. That's a novel idea.
you're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. We're back with the case of Mary Baxter, who is suing Kimberly Baxter for beauty school tuition.
What happened, Mrs. Baxter?
Either once she finished, or even if she quit, she was to get me the money back.
Okay, so tell me
No.
about that
She
agreement.
quit.
Tell me about that
Tell-
agreement.
okay.
You need to convince me with your evidence that there is an actual agreement.
Okay, Your Honor. Kimberly and I were sitting in the living room, and I brought up, hey, I found this wonderful cosmetology school. And she said, oh, that sounds great. You love to do hair, right? She says, yes. I said, well, I have $5,300 that I can invest in your cosmetology. Now, the only invest into your cosmetology. However, this investment you will have to pay me back on.
Your Honor, she's lying.
Okay. Do you have $5,300? Is $5,300? Forgive the question and the nosiness. But is $5,300 something that your mom has just lying around or in her bank?
No, she actually...
Just answer the question, yes or no.
No.
Does she work really hard?
Yes, she does. She does.
And who pays for rent?
She does.
Who pays for electricity, gas, water, power?
She does all of that.
So then you go to school, cosmetology school. You know your mom forks over $5,300 to pay for cosmetology school. What happens?
I went to cosmetology school. And I didn't like it.
Okay, it doesn't matter. You're 18, you're an adult. First month, you didn't like it?
No, I didn't. I didn't like any of it.
You didn't like any of it. It took you 6 months to realize you didn't like it when you knew the first week that you were there you didn't like it. You know your mother could have gotten a refund? She could have gotten a partial refund? I didn't know how to tell her. Did you ever tell her that?
She never told me.
No, I never told her that.
The fault is here is that Kimberly's been handed everything to her in a silver spoon.
Yes,
that's the problem. Imagine you didn't have your mother. And you just graduated from high school. What are you going to do? How are you going to support yourself?
That's a good question, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
It's a really good question. Do you think what could your mother have done with $5,300?
A lot.
Like what? Just tell me. No, just 1 second. Just tell me. What does she want to do?
Pay for college.
Maybe she could have saved it as a down payment for a car for herself
too.
Or for herself. That's a novel idea. Wow.
Judge Perez's verdict when Justice for All returns. Promotional consideration provided by...
Okay. You have convinced me you have a brain and a heart by saying that she could have done something for herself. That means you actually appreciate your mom.
Yes, I do appreciate her.
Okay.
Thank you, Kimberly.
That's all any mother, any father wants to hear. Your mom has brought you here because I think it's more of a lesson. Because here's the thing, Mrs. Baxter. I, again, have to figure out this was a gift, a loan. And you by yourself, in your words, said this was an investment. With all due respect, you kind of pushed her to go to cosmetology school. I understand what you were doing, but the girl told you, I don't want to go to cosmetology school. She told you loud and clear, but you did not hear. But based on the evidence, unfortunately, I do not find that there was an actual mutual agreement that you were going to pay for $5,300 and she, give her $5,300 and she would pay you back. There's no loan agreement, no contractual agreement. I find it to be a gift from a mother who just wanted her daughter to just do something with herself. So I will deny your claim, Mrs. Baxter, regrettably, because I think you should somehow figure something to do to help your mother and somehow pay her back out of your own conscience, out of your own heart, because she works too hard for you to throw away $5,300 of her money, and you only have one mother. Got it? Mm-hmm. Good luck, guys.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
Kimberly, I love you, and I hope you recognize why I did this.
I respect you, Mom, but I need to find myself, and I'll make it up to you.
This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.